The idea of space travel started long before humans ever left Earth's atmosphere. In the early 20th century, visionaries like Konstantin Tsiolkovsky in Russia, Robert Goddard in the United States, and Hermann Oberth in Germany laid the groundwork for rocket science. Their theoretical work on rocketry and propulsion systems set the stage for practical space exploration. In 1914, Robert Goddard launched the first liquid-fueled rocket in the United States, a significant step toward the development of modern space technology. By 1944, Germany used the V-2 rocket in World War II, which was the first human-made object to reach the edge of space, though it didn't orbit or land. After World War II, space exploration became a battleground for ideological supremacy between the United States and the Soviet Union, leading to the Cold War-era space race. Both nations sought to demonstrate their technological prowess by achieving major space milestones. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, marking the dawn of the space age. This achievement sparked fears of Soviet technological superiority, prompting the United States to accelerate its space efforts. By 1958, the United States launched Explorer 1, its first successful satellite, signaling that the US could compete in space. In 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to travel into space and orbit the Earth aboard Vostok 1, cementing the Soviet Union's early lead in human space exploration. The following year, in 1962, the United States sent John Glenn into orbit aboard Friendship 7, making him the first American to orbit the Earth. The United States responded to the Soviet achievements with an ambitious goal set by President John F. Kennedy in 1961 to land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth by the end of the decade. The Apollo program was born out of this vision. In 1969, the most iconic event in space history occurred, Apollo 11. On July 20th, 1969, astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin made history when they became the first humans to set foot on the moon. Armstrong's famous words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed around the world. Meanwhile, Michael Collins remained in orbit around the moon aboard the command module. In 1972, Apollo 17, the final moon landing of the Apollo program, marked the end of the US moon landings. 12 men in total walked on the moon during the Apollo missions. Fun fact: the Apollo 11 mission carried a small piece of fabric from the Wright brothers' first airplane, symbolizing the progression from powered flight to lunar travel. After the Apollo missions, the focus shifted to reusable spacecraft and long-term human presence in space. The Space Shuttle program, running from 1981 to 2011, became a cornerstone of space exploration, enabling astronauts to regularly travel to space, conduct experiments, and deploy satellites. In 1981, the United States launched the first Space Shuttle, Columbia, on mission STS-1. Unlike the Apollo capsules, the shuttle was designed to be reusable, allowing for regular missions. However, in 1986, the Challenger disaster shocked the world when the shuttle exploded shortly after launch, killing all 7 crew members, including Krista McAuliffe, a teacher who was selected to be the first civilian in space. By 1998, the International Space Station, or ISS, began construction, symbolizing unprecedented international cooperation in space. The ISS has since become a hub for scientific research and space exploration. In 2000, the first long-term residents, known as the Expedition Crew, arrived at the ISS, beginning a new era of extended human presence in low Earth orbit. With NASA's emphasis shifting towards more distant goals like Mars exploration, private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and Virgin Galactic began to play a major role in space travel. Key events: 2004 Spaceship One, developed by Scaled Composites and funded by Paul Allen, becomes the first privately funded spacecraft to reach space. 2012, SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft becomes the first commercial vehicle to dock with the International Space Station, signaling the arrival of private companies as serious players in space travel. 2019 SpaceX's Crew Dragon successfully carries astronauts to the ISS, marking the first crewed spaceflight launched by a private company. 2021, Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic conduct their first successful space tourism flights, paving the way for the commercialization of space travel. NASA's Artemis program aims to return astronauts to the Moon by 2024 and establish a sustainable presence by the late 2020s, setting the stage for future human missions to Mars. Key events: 2024 planned. NASA's Artemis 1 mission will launch an uncrewed test flight of the Orion spacecraft, followed by the Artemis II crewed mission. Future goals. The goal of Artemis is to establish a lunar gateway for deep space exploration and to create a foundation for future Mars missions by the 2030s. Fun fact, the name Artemis was chosen for NASA's Moon program because she's the Greek goddess of the Moon and twin sister of Apollo, symbolizing the continuation of lunar exploration. The dream of sending humans to Mars is becoming a more tangible goal. SpaceX, under the leadership of Elon Musk, is developing the Starship spacecraft, designed to carry large numbers of people to Mars and beyond. SpaceX plans to send cargo missions to Mars in the coming years and hopes to land crewed missions within the 2020s. Other countries like China are also pursuing ambitious space goals, with China planning to establish a moon base and explore Mars in the coming decades. Space travel has evolved from the theoretical musings of early rocket scientists to the everyday reality of international cooperation, private sector involvement, and dreams of interplanetary colonization. As technology advances, space travel is becoming more accessible, with the ultimate goal of expanding humanity's presence beyond Earth to the Moon, Mars, and possibly beyond. The next chapter in space exploration promises to be as groundbreaking as the Apollo missions, with new horizons on